Thought I'd do class outside today. So yeah, this will be the, I presume this will be the final video whilst I'm still living in the tent. My last video, which I had originally intended to put up on Halloween night, because I assumed that was my last day here. That will be going up on Friday, presumably, if that's my last day, and quite frankly I did need some more time to edit the thing. But I thought this as well could just give you a cheeky taste of what Friday's video will be. Except you won't have me talking. You can't even see me here. Yeah, and I thought for the last video, actually just because what's happened the past few days, like particularly on what I thought was my last night in the tent, I kind of became like very self-aware about the situation. Not that I wasn't beforehand, but I think just knowing that, again, that this isn't going to be my life right now, and I'm not going to be living in nature in the tent anymore. And it was just, I don't know, I suppose it's, you think going back to your old life, and there's just like a lot of chains, a lot of baggage on that, to the point where it's, again, you are, I suppose, established within society as who you are, and that is just like permeating in your aura all the time, in the sense that people have their opinions of you, they know who you are, and even if you don't adhere to that, what they believe you are, it is still, it's like having scars or having like a birthmark. It simply is a part of you, even if you don't want it there. And yeah, I became very self-aware about it. Was effectively, I suppose it was like the person I used to be, if he was the one who had been making these videos, like that just seemed really distant, like incomprehensible. Not that I couldn't connect the two, like one of them absolutely would be the driving force behind the other, but it was, I suppose, just like sitting in my room and like being around electricity and like other people, and you know, being able to browse the internet and what have you freely, and there was just, and you know, there's no concern for like battery life or power or anything like that. And it's, yeah, so I spent like my last night in the tent just watching one or two of the videos that I posted, and yeah, I just started to become like very self-aware of the entire situation, what's happened like the past 5 months, not so much when I was living in the hotel when I was homeless, more so the entire tent situation, because that's been where all of this has come from. Like, I couldn't make those videos in the hotel. I tried, but I noticed like it does take me a while to get comfortable with the things that are happening around me, and I'm at the point now where this is, I don't even know, I'm talking to a camera. I suppose the second I think about it, I just think I'm just talking to myself in nature, and this is the place where I'm happiest, because I'm alone essentially. But yeah, still having really weird adjustment issues to going back home. I did go and stay there again last night, simply for the fact that I just kind of had like an inkling to go there, because it's been like a few days now, and I was thinking, you know what, I really fancy lasagna. And then ironically, one of my family members texted me saying, hey, we're having lasagna tonight. So I was just like, all right, universe, all right, God, you got it, I know what I'm doing. So yeah, I went and crashed there last night, and it's getting easier. Not even the idea, the fact of going back to my old abode and saying goodbye to this place, because this spot in particular is like a sanctuary to me. This is a sacred place. Like, this is holy ground to me now. And I can tell that it was designated to me. For those of you who've seen, I think it was my last video, sorry, no, the one before that, when I'm coming to terms with having been homeless. Like I mentioned, I was out taking pictures with my camera during the whole COVID thing, and yeah, this place, it didn't even have like any leaves on the trees, and there was just light cascading down to like a really mild mist, and it just hit me as like being so beautiful. And this place is kind of big. There were a lot of places where that could have happened, but it was this spot. It drew me, and I was drawn to it. Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I don't know which way to start this. I want to recommend to you just the beauty of being in nature, and like how much you so need to do this. I'm not saying you need to camp out, but you need to take time to be one with this planet, one with this earth, before you jump back into the hive of the human mind, of human beings. Like, I'm sure most people won't have such maladjustment issues as I'm having right now, because I know for most people it's like their day will consist of, you know, doing whatever their job is, but then other than that, watching TV while browsing the internet on their phone, while having multiple text conversations with people in between posting shit on Facebook, and like they will very rarely ever get anything like this. And yeah, you so need to get out in nature sometimes. Straight vodka, Russian standard. Yeah, I've got a Mountain Dew and a vodka. I don't like mixing the two, but I always prefer drinking vodka straight, and I will recommend Russian standard just because it's clean. So if I'm not mixing it with water, I'll just sup it, because that way I can kind of moderate how much I drink as well, whereas if you put it in with a mixer, it's, yeah, you're never quite certain. I mean, as far as, and I so wish you could all experience this now, but I believe it's kind of too late depending on how the whole COVID thing goes, but when the first lockdown happened, I took over the world during that time, because for me, that was how I wanted the world to be, how I do want the world to be, I guess, in some regard. Like, I went out and I would just walk around for like hours during the day, during the night, and you wouldn't see anyone. Like, there weren't even cars like driving past on the street during that first lockdown. Nobody was out of the house, nobody. And like, as I said, I took over the world during that. Like, it was so peaceful, to the point where I gotten so comfortable. Anytime I was walking, I would just go and walk directly in the middle of the road, and again, just no car would ever see you, no human would ever catch you. Like, to the point where, like, a dual carriageway that's near me, there was, I swear it was a fucking deer. If not, it was a big ass loose dog. There was just a fucking deer off in the distance at night time, and it was just like, where the fuck have you even come from? Like, there's a lot of farmers' lands and a bit of forest, but I mean, like, the human race has had to, like, the ebbing of the tide has had to be swept so far back and just confined into their own selves, that nature, then the most innocent part of nature, like the horses that are just so skittish, and deer have actually swept back into that. And I'm sure it was confusing as fuck for the deer. Probably thought the apocalypse had come. Well, to be fair, most people thought the apocalypse had come. As I said, I saw an opportunity and I fucking took it. Like, yeah, as I say, it was so nice. And again, like, being able to walk down what's usually such a busy road, and you can just hear like the most abstract of nature just off in the distance, and you can hear silence. It's, I've always been the kind of human being that just can get like enveloped by the sound of white noise. Obviously, like rain, TV static, or like vacuums, hair dryers, stuff like that. And yeah, like, there is such a form of silence that you can quite literally hear it. And I had that during COVID. during the lockdowns, the beginning of the lockdowns, which persisted for quite a while afterward. Like, honestly, it was beautiful, seeing this world like this. To be honest with you, as I spoke about how I do quite enjoy like being naked in nature. Like, if I'm bathing here, sometimes I'll just stay naked. Well, during the summer I would just stay naked for a while and just walk around this area. That was kind of something that I came into during COVID, during the summer, because it was summer originally when it started. And yeah, I'd just go find a nice private place, obviously private place, and just get down to my bare self with nature, just in nature, and just like feeling like the grass just clutching at every part of your skin. And as I say, that's obviously the times of COVID are gone now. Now they're trying to introduce the vaccine passports, and you all need your vaccine boosters, and you all need to be monitored, and blah blah blah. And if you don't think it's heading that way, please recognize a plan in motion, guys. Recognize a plan in fucking motion. But you don't need me to debunk COVID. After anybody for even 2 seconds who realized at the very beginning of this, the number one piece of advice that we're dishing out to people was, right, all of you, go around sneezing directly into your elbows, and then, instead of shaking hands, go around banging elbows to say hello to everyone. Come the fuck on, mate. They are taking the piss out of you, because they know you're not going to think that through. They know you're not going to put one and one together. They know most people are just going to be told what to think and then just sent on their merry fucking way, as long as you serve what tiny fraction of a cog in the machine you need to be. Yeah, I so wish I could recommend to you to be able to still do that, say we're still having the lockdowns. Like, make it your world, go take over it yourself. I know it's not going to be able to now, but if you ever get the chance to, like, just go camping or hiking or just somewhere where you're going to be alone, or even if you're just out somewhere during the day and you see a spot and it's just calling to you, and it's like the top of a hill, an empty field, like a lost river, a stream, just go, sit down, lay down, and just think. Just become as the sound is created by the world around you. Just become the rock next to that river. I was going to say in that river, but I'm not planning to jump into it. But just sit there and just play your part in this much grander scheme that is this life, that is this world. And if you just need to be the rock and just be silent for a while and finally let the rest of the chorus of this world have its say, even if it's just for an hour, and you just listen, you just take it in, do that. I promise, like, it's so mentally and spiritually liberating. I really couldn't recommend it enough. Like, this is what I say, I'll always still be doing things like this even when I'm back in a house. Like, I'll never be losing my connection to nature, connection to the one, the oneness, the ether, the world. But yeah, I am still having difficulty thinking that I'm not going to be in that moment perpetually. Like, for the most part, I'm going to be back in civilization, surrounded by people. But it has been nice when I've been here, trying to finally find that perfect thread of, like, physical, mental, and spiritual, where, like, as I've said about having schizoid and schizotypal personality disorder, it's been nice, like, doing these videos here. As I said, I couldn't do them in the hotel, but doing them here, trying to get the mental aspect of it to work in unison with the physical aspect, where they actually combine instead of conflicting, and then create an auger through which my soul can then project itself. And hopefully that would be encapsulated in these videos. It's always a work in progress, of course. I don't quite know if I've ever hit that perfect unison. I know I have in life before, but it's been under other circumstances. But this has been a very fun learning experience, or experience, because it's not really anything I can have control over. It's definitely my body and every aspect of it just having its way with the me that is anchored into this body, into this heart, into this mind. I suppose that would be the soul. Really hard to read this writing because it's getting dark. Everyone needs nature, yeah, and I've already recommended that to you. Like, do it. And I also had the being self-aware of the whole video thing now, and like having all that stuff up on YouTube and BitChute as well, which I do. Well, I'm gonna do a little retrospective of my own videos, just because, you know, I've watched them all at least once, and there are always things like I wish I'd done differently, and of course the majority of the time it's just me talking in one straight go. Yeah, I just thought it might be nice to, because tomorrow is going to be once again just a day for me and a day for this place, this holy ground, me and God. I'll just be praying and thinking, just having like my last times laying down here, and just like watching the sky, watching the stars, listening to nature. I should have brought my keys. I could have actually shone them on this to see what I'm doing. So the first video. Oh, and I'll also be editing the final video for Friday. Hopefully, I really do hope it's ready on Friday. I'm going to work my ass off as best I can to try and get it to be up on Friday, because as far as I'm aware, I will be leaving here on Friday. Like, the weather's sound for taking the tent down and everything. So the first video, Cheshire Constabulary, my ongoing experience dealing with the corrupt police force, parentheses, Cheshire Constabulary. That was one of the videos I watched back on what I presume to be my final night here. And that, as I say, that was becoming self-aware of that video. And like, it literally, when I say I was becoming self-aware, and like, it was like my body was being pulled back, not in a negative way, but pulled back into the mindset it had before I was homeless, or specifically before I was living in the tent. And like, that person probably never would have started making YouTube videos, especially not putting their own face up there. Like, that's not what he is about, that's not what I'm about. And yeah, just realizing, like, watching that, I mean, I was pretty hammered on the Saturday night, on my last night, or my presumed original last night. And not to be self-indulgent, as I say, this isn't like a victory lap in my eyes. This is very much me, like, psychoanalyzing myself, as I said I used to do when I would write things, and I would take like fractions of myself and expand it into its own, like, completely original creation with the original world, and then just explore certain aspects of the human mind and my mind and where that lies in it. Yeah, watching back that first video, like, it's obviously it's always good when I have things in the notebooks. The videos tend to be more succinct in that regard. But yeah, I was just watching that back. I just kept on having this thought in my head of just like, I fucking love this guy. And it's not usually my MO to kind of give myself such easy praise. Like, I always try and be my harshest critic, only for the fact that if I can make my own head effectively shut up, stand up in the theatre and just be like, you know what, I got nothing to say. I can't take the piss out of that. You've done well. And it was just the fact that the thought in my head, even though I was having a laugh, was just, I fucking love this guy. Because again, not even seeing it as me, it was just the fact that there's a fucking guy homeless, living in a fucking tent, like, the entire situation, and he's not even asked about that. Like, he's fucking chasing down a corrupt police force, documenting it on YouTube, just the entire situation of it. It was just like, it was so West, but at the same point, it was just, I suppose it's just like, what is this guy? Like, how is he doing this? How is he actually doing this? Like, I suppose it's just, imagine if you just put the story of what it is into a headline: homeless guy joins MP's office to fight against corrupt police force. It's baffling. I absolutely loved it. Like, the middle of fucking summer, like, you can tell I'm sweating my ass off. Like, my hair's all fucking frizzy, and the camera's like slowly slipping down from the perch, so it's like I kind of disappear more and more out of frame ever so slowly. And there's not necessarily me being comfortable on camera at any point during that, but there is me having such a fire lit in my soul about the situation that like, I'm not honest, it's not about me being comfortable, it's about me having a mission, and I can very much tell in that video that I'm on that path, I'm on that road, like I'm fighting that battle. And again, considering the circumstances now, fighting it like with everything that I had. As I say, not once in that video did I ever start, you know, feeling sorry for myself. I mentioned it just vicariously, just for the that's not what I mean, flippantly, just the fact that it's like, hey, I am also just living in a tent. Like, there was no intention to make that a sustaining point of why my complaint is right, if you will. Like, I didn't need that. All I needed was the truth, which was they are a corrupt police force. Obviously, as we now know, they tried to make it a war of attrition with a homeless person. Fuck them for doing that. But I mean, that was such a low blow from Cheshire Constabulary, but I didn't even give a shit. Like, I did what I had to do to sort that, and obviously those of you who know now know. But it was just like, that's what they're having to resort to. Fucking corrupt police force, like facing a war of attrition with a homeless person in winter. One man, me, versus an entire fucking institution. And they're still coming out losing so far. Still too afraid to disclose evidence. But yeah, that first video, that's all I have to say on that. Like, I think that first video was fucking ace. Fuck me. Really can't see what I'm doing here. Warrington Borough Council hates the homeless. Again, that was very much like the first video. There wasn't necessarily any additional things that had to be made. That was just, I had my notebook, I had my mission, and I fucking achieved it. I did what I had to do. I made what I wanted to make. For the most part, I think I said what I wanted to say as well. I really genuinely don't believe there were any additional points for that. Just another, I mean, I say solid video, you know what I mean? I'm not claiming it has great production values, but I mean, still did the job that I wanted to do, achieved what I wanted to, and I don't think, when I've ever watched that back, I don't think I've ever had anything else that I've been like, damn, I wish I'd said that, or I wish I hadn't said that, or that needs to be corrected or amended. That one's just a very, very basic one, and it achieved its job. It worked well. Then we've got Ambient, why the police never held accountable to the law. Now that one was my first attempt to kind of do a much more thoroughly researched video. I mean, thoroughly researched, you know what I mean? I did as best I could, but that was very much having to do with the limitations of, as a homeless person with limited access to electricity, what can I actually make? What can I actually do? And of course, it mostly revolved around the case of Sarah Everard as the lead-in point for the like more psychological aspect of what I wanted to say about the Paluche. Simply for the fact that I think it was the day before her murderer, the police officer who murdered her, I believe he was finally sentenced to life in prison, or it was finally disclosed exactly how he'd murdered her, or you have to forgive me, like it was a long time ago now. That video I always could have done more on, as in gone into much greater detail about, like, you know, the police and what they are and why there is such an issue with abuse of power within the ranks of the Paluche. But it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Just fucking, you give people power, they tend to abuse it if their little job is wielding that power, arresting people, correcting people, admonishing people, chastising them. But I think as far as me kind of understanding and gathering what I can do as far as a factual statistic kind of video goes, and especially breaking into the psychological aspect of things, which it is one of my fortes, I believe. Yeah, I'm happy with that video. It is what it is. Again, it's the first one that I made at night as well, in the other tent, the first tent that I have. And I think the first time I ever did like an opening bit, or like I was wiping my mouth with the witness statements, or the police reports rather. As I say, you can tell I'm getting a bit more comfortable within the concept of what I'm doing, like going public with myself and my life. Oh, the QAnon video, the greatest military intelligence operation of our time. What more couldn't I have done with that video? I mean, there is so much evidence out there, so many like connections that have been made, so many things that have been documented that I myself am fully aware of. As I say, like, I was with that since like the second day, maybe the third day, if you consider the time difference between England and America. And that's going to have to be one of the videos I absolutely go back, and when I have access to my PC, I just do, I do that as it justly should have been done. I could always get back to writing that book that I was originally doing, but those of you who've seen that video know, fucking my hard drive got just destroyed, and then I had to revert to like a couple of months old version, which didn't have even like half of the editing and half the work done. But I mean, I'm doing fucking videos now, so there's not necessarily going to be anything preventing me from going back and give that the best college try. But I mean, again, God bless the people who are involved in that operation, like the Anons. I know it's Anon, but when you shorten the word anonymous to ANON, to me it just looks like it should be pronounced Anon. And I'm going to say what I want to say. Yeah, that was also the first video where I did it. No notebook. I just wanted to talk just about my experience of the operation, because I knew for a fact I wouldn't be able to do justice to all of the research that's been done on there, like not within like the span of an hour, and not just one person doing it, no fucking way. And I wasn't going to bullshit myself into thinking that would be correct. Plus it had been however many months since I'd last been on the board. Funnily enough, you know, I had actually, because of just how badly like the board was getting shilled and people are on their mission within the QAnon thing, moving on to different aspects of their own lives. Like I said, like some of them were becoming senators, running their own companies. Like, it's just really just people coming out of the proverbial woodwork and just leaping into such great positions of power within government and just within the world. And it had gotten to the point where the board had kind of become so bogged down by the shills on there that I had actually decided that I'm not going to frequent it anymore. And funnily enough, that was pretty much like almost right before this whole situation started with the police to begin with. So, and as I've said, like I've always said to God, like whatever you need me to do, just put me in the situation, put me in the position, and I'll get it done. I will bitch and moan the entire time, but I will get it done. And lo and behold, I passed one grade, if you will, and then moved on to the next one, and this is where I am now. And now I'm moving on to the next one. I will also say, funnily enough, like my phone, my PC were very clearly like hacked into toward like the beginning of the QAnon up, and I started having like some messages posted to me that were literally saying the exact word and spelling, the exact name and spelling of what I called my phone, which I had plugged into my PC, and like it was taking the piss out of me. And then on like a meme page, this is back when it was on 4chan as well, on like a meme page, I posted some of my like diagrams, and they were responded to by somebody who was talking to me. Like, there was no need to say these things, like it would make no sense to just the casual observer, but it was very specifically somebody who had access to like the pictures of me on my phone, and like they were talking about like what I look like and everything. And funnily enough, when the beloved cat Toots started being posted on the board, it was an alcoholic cat, a ginger cat, and it's the one picture that I had on social media at the time, which is the picture that I use for my channel as of right now. It literally looks like the exact picture that eventually started being used as the regular Toots one, instead of the cat that's like, you know, drinking whiskey with a lighter by it. And I know it was a shill thing, but I absolutely fucking love those Toots memes. I have so many of them saved because that shit cracked me up. That cracked me up something good. But I'll post the picture, you'll see the comparison, and you'll know exactly what I mean. And again, then just saying it was like an alcoholic cat, and there's so many other things that like sometimes they would get like a bit personal. Again, like if things would happen to me like around certain times, all of a sudden there'd be a new Toots one where it's saying, oh, this has happened to Toots. And I mean, again, there are 1,000 of them, and they crack my ass up every fucking time. I'm sure that wasn't the intention, but I loved it. Like, chill against me all you want. You fucking, oh, you did me a service. I never laughed so fucking hard at an internet meme half the time. Oh, the gang stalking one. Fuck yeah. So the day that I posted that QAnon video, I was aware that by coming out so publicly, even though I was like, and I still am, I guess, like a very small channel, although I mean it does pretty fucking well on BitChute, like, but I was very aware that just even making myself a target and being a considerably small target at that, it's going to be much easier for anybody to potentially attack me in whatever manner they chose to, and me to not really have any platform on which to counteract that, because, like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, you're not going to attack some massive channel per se, or some person, because then they have a much bigger platform to stand on and call you out for what's happened. And yeah, I was fully aware of what I was doing, and then I posted that video on the same day. I go out to see my friend. I come back at something past midnight, and yeah, lo and behold, my fucking tent's been broken into, some shit stolen from me, some other shit moved around, and I immediately posted like a 2-minute long video of me in the tent. Like, I'd had to take some of the plastic bags that I'd taken off the windows of the tent just to seal up the front door again, because like slugs had gotten in from however long it had been that somebody's left it fucking open and exposed. Like, it was fucking freezing during the night. Like, I obviously just didn't feel safe at all that evening. Still jumped right back onto fucking what I had to do the next day. Like, didn't take a back step at all. But yeah, and then I considered it more the next day, and obviously, I mean, as I'm sure you can imagine, why I put the numbers together and just said, right, the day I post a QAnon video, after all the other people that tend to get attacked and all the fucking shilling that happens online, paid trolls, and my fucking tent gets broken into, like, it just seemed like a message. And again, somebody like stealing my duct tape, using it to waste it all wrapping up a stick, and then just leaving the stick right outside the tent so I'll fucking find it. Like, it just seemed like a message. And yeah, obviously I took some time the next day, and I uploaded that video that evening. But I took some time the next day, and obviously, you know, I am somewhat of the thing that, you know, anything that you can ascribe to stupidity as opposed to malice, it's probably best to do so. And despite the fact that it was either an exceptional coincidence that it happened the day that I posted my QAnon video, I thought it would be the smart thing to do to take that 2-minute video down and then just place it into like another video. I think it's like 10 minutes long altogether now, where I still keep that 2-minute video in originally, but I bookend it with me saying, okay, maybe I jumped to a conclusion last night. Simply, but I mean, again, like, it's not that difficult to understand why I thought that way, especially in the moment. But I did just try to play it off as it could be something else, could be this, could be that. And I just kind of let the dust settle on that, because if it was somebody trying to leave me a message, they did. I never picked up the phone, so fuck you. Still kept on doing my videos, and I'll still keep on doing my videos. Didn't change my spot at all. Like, as I say, I'm not being chased away from ground that has been gifted to me, that has been granted to me by God. And it was also a good excuse to stick up some pictures of my banging body, which I've done in quite a few other videos. I don't know why. Maybe that's a bit arrogant, but just like showing off that I've got a good figure, because I work hard on that. That's something I'll potentially do when I'm back at my house, because I can start exercising the way I used to again, and dieting the way that I used to. I may start a little running thing of, you know, if you want to get into this shape as well, like, I guarantee you I can get you into your version of that shape, because I did it not in the easy way, but I did it in a way that would be very applicable to me and my lifestyle. Like, I wasn't putting myself through agony. I found all the things I needed to do, the right diet, the workout that I can do for having asthma and what have you, and made it work for me. But again, I'll figure that out if I decide to do that. Cheshire Constabulary denies and deletes evidence. If I'm remembering, I started that one off with an audio I'd sent my friend on WhatsApp, because we finally got given evidence. Not all the evidence, we didn't get the disclosure of evidence still, but they gave us 2 selective chunks of body cam footage which did everything that it could to not contain the officer who arrested me breaking the same law that he accused me of breaking. And we finally got the pictures of the evidence, where that's when we found out that things that they'd originally charged you with had just completely changed. Like, they charged you with scratching the top of a car, and then all of a sudden 2 days before the court date they changed it to, oh no, you've in fact scratched the side of the car, and they never mentioned the top of the car being scratched again. And then there were some other things that were just introduced, like such as the thing that I laughed my ass off at the beginning of the video, which is a potted plant that they'd submitted that was just like ever so slightly askew, and they were trying to like make it out like I was joking they should have like a body line print around the plant, and you can tell how hard I'm fucking laughing. Like my mate was on the train, and like funnily enough actually coming back from jury duty, and yeah, like she's on the train and she's like laughing so hard, and she's trying not to, and she's sending me voice messages just like, Nathan, you can't make me laugh like this in public, like people are proper staring at me. I would play them, I won't do that to her, but we had a fucking good laugh about that. And yeah, that was also the Cheshire Constabulary had of course deleted some of the body cam footage that we absolutely could have used to show a massive contradiction in the witness statements, but of course they decided to delete that on behalf of the defense, I guess, because it wasn't going to be relevant to us. It's like, you're supposed to hold on to all of these things until the trial is concluded. It's not up to you to decide what evidence will or will not be relevant to the defense, and fuck you for thinking that. Again, that's the kind of thing we're going to be bringing up in court, absolutely. Forgive me that it's gone dark. I know there was a nice tree view behind me, but the majesty of this day, the Lord's Prayer. Yeah, that was just a nice one. I just wanted to share the extreme winds that we were having, and I hope the video that I released on Friday, you'll likewise enjoy the weather that's in that. It's going to be a combination of a lot of things. Again, I don't want to ruin it. Yeah, that video. There was something else I didn't quite notice in that. When I go to do the prayer, there's well, it's just a bit revealing in the video, so if you ever wonder what it's going to look like when I'm out here bathing naked, you're going to get a little image of what that would be like. You don't see me naked or anything like that, but it's just, yeah, when I finally realised it, it cracked me up. But I'll leave you to go and discover that one yourself. Just doesn't leave much to the imagination. Cheshire Constabulary won't disclose evidence. The next one, yeah, that was again the morning of my trial, and Cheshire Constabulary still had not even begun the initial legal process of disclosure of evidence, which they should have done within the first 2 weeks of laying charges against me. Again, that one, along with the Cheshire Constabulary denies and deletes evidence, those are just me in town at that point, having firstly spoken to my solicitor, and then after the court, and I believe before the court actually, on the latter one. And yeah, you can actually see in the latter one, after the court date, as I said, my schizotypal personality thing. Like, I've always been wearing headphones usually when I've been doing my videos, simply for the fact that if I were to hear something like in the nature around me, I knew that it was going to throw me off, because everything owes it a person, and I know that my mind would like shift gears and I'd lose my focus on what I was saying in the video. And you can kind of tell that that's how that happens, such as I'm sat on a bench and I'm talking about something, and there are 2 women that start walking past me, and like I look over, kind of acknowledge that they're there, I go to say something back to the camera to continue, and my mind just goes blank, because everything just starts conflicting with each other of, oh, I'm in public, there are people here that can hear me, I'm talking to a video camera, these are going to be videos that are online. It's just, yeah, as I say, I can't be around people. Like, my mind stops working to a certain extent if I'm trying to do something that really requires like my actual mind. But yeah, I think it was nice to see myself with a little change of scenery in those. The next one was Cheshire Constabulary investigates its own corruption, finds itself completely innocent. AKA Cheshire Constabulary's laughable complaints procedure. Yeah, I mean, that video, I don't really remember that one too well. I think that, which is probably a good thing, which also means that it was just a nice standard video that achieved what it wanted to. It was just me going through their absolute abortion of an attempt of assassination of my own character and an assassination of the complaint that I've lodged against, the severity of the complaint that I'd lodged against them. And of course, if they think that I was just going to take that lying down, they realize now that there's absolutely no way. They've got another thing coming. And believe me, they have even more coming than this. Like, anything that they do just to try and dissuade me from doing what is right and from pursuing corrupt authority is only giving more fuel to the fire of what I can launch against them, in a court of law, and I fucking will. Like, believe me, I'm not backing down from any of this, and don't presume that when I move back into a house and I start getting comfortable that any of this will change, that I won't have again that fire within my soul to continue fighting this because I'm living in a fucking tent. Like, these videos, while they were, I'm certain, very much, in a sense, keeping me sane during this period of my life, that's not the comfort of such a thing, wasn't what allowed me or made me make those videos. I was making them because I finally felt comfortable enough to do them. I had something really, really strong point to make there, and I fucking lost it. I think it's because I actually wanted to say the thing about I'm certain these videos kept me sane at the beginning of this video, to be honest. It's not that they kept me sane, but they kept me focused, for definite. I suppose because the homeless situation, that element of it, wasn't even pushed to one side. It was just completely dropped. Like, that was over. There wasn't anything else I could really do with that except for just look for a place to live. I may have to edit in something else here because I've really thrown myself off track by leaping back to something I was going to say at the beginning, just because it was a point I wanted to make. I know I was going to say, yeah, if you think me having a home now is going to do anything to dissuade me, or I'm going to get content with having a solid roof over my head and a comfortable bed, and that I will not pursue these complaints against you any further, again, fuck off. I'm just going to have more resources through which to pursue these complaints. Like, you may have won the battle by making me plead guilty to these charges, 4 of the charges that were alleged against me, just so I can return to my home, my family home, to the people that I love, and the people that thankfully love me. You still know that charge at the fucking Paluche office is alleged against me. I haven't pled guilty to that, though you tried to get me to plead to a lesser charge on the day that I was going to plead guilty to the other things, because you wanted to get away with that, and your police officer doesn't want to fucking go to court and make a tit out of himself by crying and saying that he got PTSD from me calling him a name, which he then called me, and then threatened to break a fucking crucifix. It's getting really hard to see this notebook here. Living with schizotypal personality disorder. That was, yeah, that was, I mean, I think that video in it, I could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours about that, and I still would never feel like I did justice to my condition. But I suppose that's because I've lived with it my entire life, so there is, in my head, such a long story. And it's like, I still remember things. I don't want to be cliche and say as if they were yesterday. I still feel them like they were yesterday. Like, I feel like I could have woken up yesterday and I'd have been 5 years old again. Like, I'm having a real, like, self-awareness moment here now. I really feel like it's that 5-year-old has just, again, not grown up, because that implies, like, the passage of time. It's still just me, it's my soul that's been encased in a body that changes, in a body that grows, that is effectively a slave to time, a prisoner to time. My soul, however, it's infinitesimal when it comes to this world, to this plane, to time. Like, time is so insignificant to my soul. As I say, my soul is the thread throughout eternity, and time is just something that plucks it along the way and makes it feel things. But the definition of time is nothing to my soul. I want to say it's like a meal, but I don't quite know what I mean by that. Yeah, I suppose it is. It's just something to gorge yourself on, but it's ultimately empty. Like, as I say, I could just go on for fucking hours analysing what I'm saying. As I say, I'm not in that perfect unison between my body and my mind. Yeah, I think that was good to kind of try and express me, like me on my knees, my brains, and just try and put that out there for anybody, I suppose, to maybe like try and understand. Or, as I say, that was probably more one of those videos where I was doing a service to myself as opposed to doing it chasing up police corruption or anything like that. But I mean, yeah, I think I did alright with that video. I can't really remember everything I said in it, because I suppose it's not one of those definitive things, like a complaint review or a court case. It is just me, for however long the video was, like an hour or 40 minutes or something, just kind of dipping my hands into my own brain, into my own body, in a situation I usually wouldn't, recording it and then putting it online, and just kind of seeing what comes out. And I mean, exposure, I always say, like, the way that I've gotten through things in life is by overexposing myself to it, because if I overexpose myself to it, it begins to mean nothing to me, in the sense that it doesn't hold any sway over me, such as like things that would scare me, or things that would make me afraid. I know I used to be, as I said in that video, I think I used to be a very like frightened child, like a very sensitive child as well, and it got to the point, like in my teenage years, where like I'd start knowing how like shit scared I was of everything. I would purposely start like going out when it was dark, and like listening to like ambient music, but like really haunting kind of ambient music. And like any of those thoughts of like, oh, is there somebody around the corner, or that person over there looks dodgy, or this doesn't look like a safe place, I would purposely walk to those places. I would purposely walk toward that person, you know what I mean? I would indulge those thoughts, I suppose, because again, it's, even if those things had happened and there were dodgy people or unsafe places, it was just that overexposing myself to it, to the point where it meant nothing to me. Like, it couldn't hold any sway over me. Like, that was me being me and knowing myself well enough. I knew that that was going to be the only way to liberate myself from such feelings. As I say, I'd still do it now. Not like walking around listening to scary stuff, because I don't really feel fear or intimidation the way that I used to. Like, as I say, as a baseline emotion, as a baseline emotion, it doesn't mean anything to me anymore. It's kind of just like every other emotion is. Most of the emotions, it's just a signal, like, to direct you of, this seems like a bad situation, or this is a bad situation. But yes, I very much think making that video and trying to talk about my condition as best I can was, I suppose it was also like, I wanted to open myself up a bit to the people, like past, present and future, that would see any of my videos for whatever they are, just to really give like an inkling of, as I say, this is, because I can talk about these things now as if like the person in the tent who's made these videos and is making this video isn't me, because there is like such a separation of like every aspect of me from itself. Like, it's all very self-introspective and self-reflecting. But yeah, I mean, I think I like that video. I'm fairly certain I do. If it's the same that I remember it, I was perfectly fine with it. Update on the caught and homeless situation. The 10 YouTube subscriber and BitChute works again special. That one was just a laugh. Yeah, that was just me. I had been in court that day. Damn, I genuinely don't remember. I was in town for some reason, and I was by myself. No, I definitely wouldn't have been in court, because I wasn't wearing my fucking court swagger. So I definitely wasn't in court that day. I must have just been going to speak to my solicitor maybe, or something. I really don't remember for the life of me, but as I say, I know I was just having a bit of a laugh that day. I know in the as I was saying about in the Majesty of This Day video, I'm a bit exposed in that one. As a joke on the BitChute channel, I put because I made a joke in the video of like what I'm gonna do for the 10 subscriber special, whip my dick out. And then on BitChute, I put in the description of that, just like, hey, you know what, if I hit 10 subscribers on this, maybe I will whip my dick out. And we're pretty much there now, unless I got another subscriber in like the past 2 hours, well, 2 or 3 hours. And I did have a little joke that I wanted to do with that tent that I got. As I said, it didn't come with any fucking poles, but for some reason, it was obviously left in there by mistake. It did come with like a tiny plastic duck. And that always pissed me off. It's like, great, I don't have any poles, but I have a fucking duck. And I tried to fish it out of the other tent, the ruined one before, because I was gonna make a joke of like, well, I want to be a man of my word, so here we go, I'll whip out my dick. And then just kind of angle the camera down and just have the duck in my hand. And just like, gentlemen, ladies, this is Dick the Duck. I thought it'd be funny, but yeah, I tried to have a look around, and it's either not in that tent, and I have actually got it in the one that I'm currently in, or it's in like one of the corners, which is just like bogged down by fallen leaves and fucking rainwater. So, joke's not gonna happen today. Yeah, if you ever want to know my opinion on how I feel about having a channel and people actually watching it, do go watch that one. I'm like very appreciative toward anybody who gives my situation a bit of recognition and a bit of support, and I make it very clear at the end of that video. The psychological problem with Grindr, yeah. Again, that was just another like thought experiment. There could be so much that could be said about that. I think genuinely I just kind of wanted to not test the waters, but just introduce a kind of me commenting on the outside world section, as opposed to things that are directly involved in my life. And Grindr is one of those things where, as I say, the psychological problem with it is easy enough for me to talk about, that I can just fill like I could fill a whole fucking hour of conversation about it. Like it's not like a Tinder dating thing, you know, where it's kind of like mild and everybody seems, you know, vaguely lucid. Like Grindr, as I refer to it, Grindr crazy, like, is a real psychological issue. Like it seems to bring out the worst in most people. And so I just thought that would make an interesting video to discuss. I do feel like I harped on my ex-boyfriend a bit too much, but that's one of the few people that I know has had one of the bad experiences with it. Well, not, I mean, yeah, bad. It's, as I say, like, I don't want to fucking hark on him right now either, but yeah, no, I suppose just because that is making it like more personal to me than just talking about the actual psychological problem of Grindr. So obviously it just becomes like somewhat conflicting in my own head. But again, yeah, I thought that was an alright video. I thought it served its purpose, definitely. Then after that time I tried to commit suicide. Yeah, always a somewhat difficult subject for me, but I do think I said everything I needed to say in that video. Why did I want to make that video? Again, I suppose it was like the living with schizotypal personality one. I just kind of wanted to give some reference point to who I am as a human being outside of my mission or my missions. And that is like a very poignant part of my life. Like, not that I'm like defined by it, but like it just, I suppose it speaks to me as a human being in a certain sense. And I did kind of want to, you know, if there was ever anybody out there who could get any form of benefit from it, or I could dissuade to not do it and just kind of give tomorrow another chance, or at least not try and fucking overdose and then survive and end up being in so much physical pain for months. Yeah, I think that one was more just, I wanted to put across part of my story, but I also quite literally did just want to throw it into the ether and see not what waves it made, obviously, but just allow it to make its own waves, yeah. And if somebody benefits from it, or if somebody feels like they're understood by another human being, again, I genuinely don't know. I was just putting it out there just to put out there. obviously, again, for selfish reasons, because I wanted to talk about myself and my history and my story, but I just think it's, I know, it's just, I suppose, kind of like a support group thing, whereas somebody else out there just might, you know, I don't know, maybe if they're feeling shitty, they might be distracted enough, or I might entertain them enough just by talking, or they feel like they're, again, this is what I mean, I don't know what effects that video could have had on other people, if any, but I just wanted to test it out. I'm going to nip to the bathroom and I'll get back to this. Hey now. Yeah, so I just went and grabbed this, pretty fucking easy to do this. So the next one was future-proofing my complaint against Cheshire Constabulary. That was kind of the first time that I actually really focused on trying to edit the video, because not that I want to show my hand, but yeah, I have every audio call that comes into me now recorded. I have for a long time. And yeah, for like 1 or 2 days, the apps just stopped working. And I really had to call up to, because I only had like 5 days to add anything to my review, my request to have the complaint resolution that Cheshire Constabulary dumped on my doorstep. To add any additional information. And so yeah, that was like the first time I actually was trying to edit videos, in a sense that I had to include other videos, but then I had to post something over them, just because I didn't want to show that, you know, how am I recording them? Am I only relying on a friend who has a camera phone, or am I relying on the apps that I have on my phone? A bit, you know, I'm obviously thinking probably far too much about that, but I just know that Cheshire Constabulary are just a slippery bunch of motherfuckers, and I would prefer them to think that they could continually get away with anything that they might try and do to me over the phone. Again, such as the guy who, funnily enough, ended up being handed my complaint against himself to investigate himself. When we'd first talked about my complaint, like a couple of days after I was released from detainment, and he says to me on the phone, "Where is there a basic human right to water? You tell me." And I do fucking tell him. I tell him exactly where it is. But then, because I don't have audio of that phone call, he's allowed to effectively say, "Oh, well, I listened back to the phone call, and this happened, and this happened." It's like, that ain't how it go. That ain't how it went, mate, and you fucking know that. But now I have it, so yeah. As obviously they know now that I absolutely record things, so I can say this stuff now. But yeah, just because I wanted to catch any little slip up that they would make on the phone, and then not make them aware that I had the possession of those calls. Just in case they then tried to screw me over again, I could then say, "Oh, well, you've listened to the audio call, have you? Funnily enough, I have again as well. Let's listen to it together, shall we?" And then just watch them just fucking squirm in their little boots. Yeah, I like that video. I thought it needed to be, well, obviously, one of my shorter ones, because it didn't need to be long. It was more just documenting the fact that I have filed for this review. I have sent all of the information that I put in my review in an email to them, because the review form that I sent to them ended up being 0 kilobytes, despite the fact that I'd fucking filled it in with everything that I needed to. And I didn't want them turning around and saying to me, "Oh, well, there was nothing in your review request, so we're just going to have to let it die." And it's like, well, no, because I've then supplied all of that information over email, as I'm legally allowed to do, and you still have to take it as part of my request for a review of my complaint. So they can't try and dick me about on that one. Loving with schizotypal personality disorder. Yeah, this is probably the one that I do wish I'd done something different with. I think the idea of the video was fine, was fucking great. Excuse me. The only issue is, again, I was saying before, like about the grind, when I don't want to go on about my ex-boyfriend, that Liam, who I spoke about in that video, but his section and Alec's section are the ones that I do wish I'd left for a part 2, just because I kind of got I don't feel like I did the Alec section justice, only for the fact that I still want to protect him, despite the fact that he's I'm not saying a monster, no, he's a dickhead. I do still want to protect him, and like the anonymity that he would want of his past within his friendship group, and I suppose still my friendship group, but I don't hang out with any of them anymore. Although I did get an out of the blue phone call off one of them yesterday, who I said I would call back today actually, so I'll have to do that in a bit. But yeah, because I was running out of storage space, sorry, and I could see it because it told me how much longer I had left to film. I really had to cut like my ex-boyfriend's part short, and that's a shame because his story is much more akin to like the first two guys I spoke about, James and Joey. Like it's part of the epic saga, if you will, of my love life, of people I've been in love with. And yeah, there's like a lot to say about him. And I had, funnily enough, I went for like a 5-minute break during that video, and it started raining like immediately after I'd originally gone for that 5-minute break, and just the thought in my head was like, right, that's a sign that the video should end there, meaning that I would have only spoken about James and Joey, and then I would have to do a part 2. But the other part of me was just thinking like, I want it all in one video. I don't really like going back to things, and then it's going to be like awkwardly placed in my channel and what have you. So I forced myself to kind of muscle through it, and I feel, not that it's necessarily a bad video, but I, on a personal side, just feel like I didn't do justice to in the second half, like especially not for my own history, my own life story. As far as Liam goes, even though I'd probably portray him as a bit of a cunt, to be honest, in that video, the fact is, like, when I think it was like my last night, what I presume to be my last night, and I really started getting a bit emotional about the whole situation, and like, as I said, coming to terms with being homeless. And yeah, like I'd been with a female friend of mine, and she was like stinking drunk, so I knew I couldn't call her, and I didn't really feel comfortable calling anybody else over the situation, and so I called him, and like, yeah, he called me back, picked up the phone, and he has like social anxiety, so like I've only ever spoken to him on the phone like twice, and that was like the third time. And yeah, he was like, for all the shit that I've said, like he's said about me in that video, like tell me to go kill myself and what have you, and just like saying anything he can to try and insult me. What I would have said in that video if I'd had time was like, this is, I did say, like, I know that he's a better man than that. And him getting on the phone, like, it was nice to like have a talk with him and have a laugh with him. And like, he really helped me stay like strong, I guess, by just letting me talk, and like, and yeah, like it did again, it got, so we were on the phone for like half an hour, and I was probably going to be longer than that, but I thought to let him off the phone because I didn't want to fucking burden him for ages and ages. But then we kept on talking on WhatsApp for a bit, but the conversation just kind of slipped into like, you know, sexual talk, and I know once him being him again, I really shouldn't have, not my place to go on about him too much. But yeah, it's just, as I say, he is a good guy. Like, and the last thing I've said to him, I just left him a voicemail just saying like, look, the guy who spoke to me the other day, like, that's the person that I know you are deep down. Like, I wish you were that nice guy all the time. Like, because that's the guy that I fell in love with. That's the man I fell in love with. And when I always used to say to you, like, you're a better man than this, that's the man that I'm referring to. That's the man that you are. Like, your head going west isn't you. I mean, obviously it's a part of you, but that isn't. It's just one of the sum of your parts, and you being stronger than that. Those are the moments when you really shine, and those are the moments that I really love about you. I wasn't this fucking verbose about the situation, but obviously I have the luxury of time on this video. And yeah, I tried to just kind of, I suppose, close it off in my own mind as just leaving it as that. And he knows that, again, I appreciate the phone call. If we don't speak again, then it is what it is. Yeah, it's just nice to know, despite everything, it's just nice to know that he is still that person when it counts. And it's nice to know that nice to know that I was right about that person being who he really is. Because I know he'd probably like to think that I don't know anything and that he knows himself far better than I ever could, and I'm not saying that it's the case, that I know him better than he knows himself, but as I say, I just, being his boyfriend for so long and experiencing him for so long and putting up with him for so long, in the sense that I really am talking too much about him. I don't want to make this about that. I will just say, maybe I'll stick this video here. He himself has a like a little channel on YouTube where he puts up videos. Hasn't done it in fucking ages, because like the only ones that are actually on his channel, funnily enough, are from when we went to the Lake District together the first time, which was when you told me that you loved me. And obviously, because he, you know, is somebody who I have a history with, like, any videos that he posts will always have a larger meaning to me. But I don't know, just the videos that they're like, what, 10 seconds long each at best, and it's just of like nature and stuff, but like they're fucking beautiful. And they're from like the long weekend that he and I had together in the Lake District, and it's so nice to see that like he's opened up like a creative, artistic part of himself when he was with me. And it's a shame that that part of him is like kind of died since we started being together. Like, he didn't upload anything after that. And yeah, just those really short clips and what have you, like they mean a surprisingly large amount to me, just because it's like he's tossed away his soul by not doing anything with the videos or with the talent. It's like his soul isn't there anymore, like that creative spark, that unique spark that was him. It's like he's trying to, again, I shouldn't talk too much about it. It's his life. What happened in court the day I pled guilty? I believe the tagline in the picture of that one was slagging off the prosecution. That video, just funny again, just updating people on what happened on the day that I went in to plead guilty, just so I could go back home. A fine video, nothing special about it. Obviously the only thing of note on that would be my friend she took a picture of me when I came out of court, and it's like me reaching into my jacket as if I was like going to pull out a gun or something. And just, yeah, like we used that at I used that at the end of the video, but I used that Snapchat thing where it adds a massive grin onto the person's face and like made it black and white as if it was the end of, because we've got this recommendation from one of our friends. She suggested like putting it at the end because it looks like it's, you know, like at the end of like some high school movie or some like college film, and it does like the still images and then says like, oh, you know, Brian went on to become a university professor at blah blah blah. And just, yeah, it absolutely looked like that, and so I thought to use that, and obviously I stuck some music at the end, and I got a copyright claim, but I mean, I'm not earning any money off this, because I think you need to have like over 100 or 100k subscribers, so copyright claim all you want, it's not as if I'm fucking debating any cash settlement over it. Yeah, that was a liberating day, having all the bail conditions lifted and what have you, and being able to return home. Obviously I should be there now, but I do kind of appreciate that I'm being given a few more days here. Like, as I say, tomorrow will be my day. just to do all the final things I'd wanted to do here. The coming to terms with being homeless video is actually a decent light source for me. Fucking hell. No. Coming to terms with being homeless. Yeah. As I say, there's not much to explain. I suppose by this point I really have become kind of comfortable with what it is that I'm doing with my life, in the sense that I'm exposing myself by putting myself up on the internet. So much so that like I know that like I got emotional during that video. Obviously, like I'm not at the comfortable level where I cry. Like I'm not a crier ideally. But yeah, it was just, I think it was actually the evening before that was when as I said, I had to call my ex-boyfriend and just like kind of let out some emotion. He didn't hear me cry either. Like, again, like I said, it's the second I'm around people, the tears will stop. Yeah, that video, it was, as I say, that was like the living with schizo type of personality disorder. Could have talked for so long, so fucking long, just because there's so much to say, but at the same point there's so little to say. It's like, I was homeless, I'm not anymore. Obviously all the fighting police corruption, what have you, on top of that, but yeah, it was, I don't know, I hope at least, say this channel becomes like gold in the future. Like I do understand, I am the kind of crazy that you can take right to the bank. You just need to be, or know the right way to harness said crazy. And or even if there's like some psychoanalytical process that's done over like me or my channel, barring myself doing it like now and in the future, of course. That video is shit. I've completely lost my point on that now. I suppose there isn't really much to say. It is exactly what the title says. It's me coming to terms with being homeless, or having been homeless, I suppose. Fireworks, by the way, if you're wondering what that popping sound is. I thought somebody's getting a cap in their ass. Yeah, that was just me kind of documenting my experience, but more so my story of having been homeless. Not that I went into like the full breadth of the situation, but just I suppose just reminiscing on part of what happened, because as I say, I do consider what would have been Halloween Day as being my last official day of being homeless. This is just kind of an extra little bit, I suppose you could just call this as fun for me, though it's fucking freezing. But yeah, no, that video, it's probably going to be one of the ones that, if I ever do like some self-reflection on this specific time, that'll probably be one of the ones that I watch the most, only for the fact that it is me at the end of the situation, kind of having it all play out at once, and like I know what the future effectively holds in that regard. So I suppose my guard is also down somewhat, because I know that it's over and things are going to change. So yeah, it's, you know what I mean, like there's no, I suppose if you were being a soldier, and not that I'm ever like doing myself that kind of credit, but if you were a soldier and like you know that there's no end to the war, it's just going to be an arduous battle like day after day, and then you finally get the summons to say like you're going home, like the war's over, like the battle's over, like you'll finally let your guard down, in a sense. You'll finally be able to, like, you know, friends you've lost or injuries you've sustained, or, you know, what you've been through, things that you might necessarily harden yourself to during the experience, because you can't afford to be weak. You can't afford to let that weakness get into you, because it could destroy you in your current situation. But now you know you're going home. And that was, I mean, I at the time I believed it was the next day I would be leaving the tent and I would be back home. Despite all of the separation anxiety issues from the tent and having like my own space and being in nature. Yeah, that was just, I don't know, I like that. I know toward the end, there was like a poetic sense where I could have cut it off. I was about to say, completely organically, I was about to say my excuse for being a bit emotional was I'm not necessarily sad, I'm just coming to terms with being homeless. But then as I went to say it, I realized, oh, that's the title of the video, and that would ironically make a very good place to end the video. But then I was like, nah, it's gonna look, even though it was completely organic, it's gonna look just fucking cheesy as fuck. So me being me, obviously I catch myself out before I do it, and then I say to the camera, oh, I was about to do this. And then I keep going for like another 5 or 10 minutes, which, yeah, I'm sure I could have like cut the video off before that, but I still think, again, in the future, like, some psychoanalysis could be done of specifically in those 10 minutes, because that's very much like not a free fall, but that's me catching myself at a place where part of my body is saying, end it. The universe has given me a relatively poetic conclusion, but then my interference, whether that's like mental or physical, is just like the frequencies are just like batting each other around, and my me doesn't know where I stand on in that, and like it's just the noise, and like you just want the silence. But I suppose it's also the longer that like my body continued talking to the camera, like the more my brain for that moment, because even though I was only recording myself, my brain knows that it's going to go up somewhere, so my brain won't start thinking too deeply because it switches itself off for protection. So like I wasn't going to start crying provided I kept on talking. Yeah, just really strange. Again, that is probably one that I'll go back and watch like a fair few times. Oh, and then we come to my most recent one, surviving when you're homeless. Not much to say about that. That was somebody on one of my subscribers on BitChute. I assume they're a subscriber. Recommended to me. Well, not recommended, but just pointed out like anybody can be homeless like at any given moment. And I had thought for a while like it might be interesting to do a homeless survival tips video. But then I kind of thought, it's like, I don't feel like it's my place, because I've not had the homeless experience that everybody else has. Particularly, like, I used to see so many people just like sleeping in alcoves and doorways when I was staying at the hotel. That's how most homeless people are living. Whereas I, being me and knew that I had to have my own individual space, I got myself a fucking tent. I prepared well enough to be coming and living out in nature and being alone, because I knew that that was best for my mental health. Like, there's no way I could have made those videos in the hotel, though I tried, or sleeping in an alcove in the town centre, where anytime I'd make a video there'd probably be like 50 to 100 people who'd walk past me. As I say, like, even when I was being here, I still, for the majority of my videos, I had my headphones in the entire time, because if I heard anything in the nature around me, I would presume it may have been a dog walker, and even if not, just me thinking in my head to listen out for it while I'm talking, my brain would have like shut off from doing what it needs to be focused on. So I was always trying to, as I say, I'm not got headphones in now, because as I say, I'm just at the point where it's just like, fuck it now. Yeah, that video, that could have done so much better on that, only for the fact that there are 1,001 tips that you can give to a homeless person. I was just trying to cover the bases, and then just trying to give some of the tips from my own personal experience. But yeah, there are so many that I didn't include that would be beneficial to anyone in certain homeless situations. Even again now, I'm reeling from all the things in my head that I could have potentially said. Like, I know a thing that I used to do before I was homeless, which you could recommend to homeless people, would be when I get paid, I go to a charity shop. Go to the charity shops in our town, have a little whisk around, and if I saw anything that I could flip for a profit on eBay, I would purchase it, try and estimate the value of it, what I could probably get for it, if not look online to see if there was already one available, and buy that with my own money, and then put it on eBay and hopefully make a bit of change just so I've turned something into a profit. You can absolutely do that when you're homeless. It's a riskier business, because if you end up buying something and nobody buys it, you've lost, let's say it's like 15 quid or something. You've then lost £15 that you may need to feed yourself. And like, there are so many other tips that people could use. Like, again, that person who said to me, anybody can be homeless, the thing they've recommended on that survival video, like, you can get a solar paneled phone charger. And it's like, well, yeah, obviously I didn't even think to say something like that, because that wasn't how I did my homeless situation. I'm certain that would have been something I'd have gone for if I didn't have access to like a friend's house most days to charge my phone, or I didn't have the money to go to a pub and charge my phone and get a meal and a pint. But as I say, it's just, I did the best I could in that. I'm just talking out of my experience. The thing I probably did the best on that video is the recommending that you seek free legal advice from Citizens Advice and what have you, and then just the mental preparation for what you're going to do if you're homeless. But I suppose the video itself was just more applicable to people who are going to be camping out. I mean, to be honest, rightfully so. I think in my own head I don't have any right to talk to somebody about having to sleep rough in the streets. Like, I can give you all the advice I can about sleeping rough in nature. But sleeping rough in the streets, completely different situation. Like, you're going to be sleeping and you're going to have people walking around you like all night, especially if it's like a Saturday night and you're one of the homeless people in our town centre. Like, again, I don't know how they could do that, because I'd be waking up to every footstep that goes past. This is why I knew I had to be in nature. I had to be in nature for mine. It just wasn't going to work any other way. But again, if anybody ever sees that and they're able to take some tip off of it that genuinely benefits them or helps them, or even if people that see that video just end up posting other recommendations of things that you can do in the comments and somebody gets some good advice from that, fucking bang on. Videos served its purpose, no complaints here. So the last thing I was saying here was just the future of this channel, but I've kind of already spoken about that. As I said, I've got a video to go up on Friday, which I'm probably going to do a bit of editing of tonight, and probably a bit tomorrow if I've not finished it, because I want it to be just right, to pay tribute to, as I say, this sacred place, this holy ground, this sanctuary that was gifted to me by nobody else but the good Lord. It would be, of course, I still have the court date with the fucking corrupt Paluche coming up, so of course videos are still going to be going on with that. As I've said, I want to finally do that Science in the Bible video that I've talked about for doing so long. But yeah, I always knew I would need like more than likely access to like a decent PC and be able to research to my heart's content, as opposed to just doing it on the phone and having to abide by the strict limitations of battery life, signal, storage space. Excuse me. I'll probably try a few things, because this channel is what it is now. It's like the exercise vids, may even do some gaming things when Elden Ring comes out next year. Like fucking, Soulsborne games, mate. Yes, please. There is one thing I have been considering, which is whether to just move on to like a new channel now, because once I upload this video and the one that's coming on Friday, not only will my video section be perfectly filled out, so there won't be like one empty space, there's like 5 videos that'll show on each line, it'll be completely filled out perfectly, and it will have documented everything that it was meant to document. I don't know whether to, just for the future, and again, like the sanctity of this experience, because as I say, like my brain's completely removed from it as of right now as I'm talking. Like, I don't want to destroy the work of that. And I don't mean it, I was just gonna say that brave homeless person, like that fucking strong homeless person who did all of those things. Like, I don't want me going back to my old life, in a sense, to then destroy that, or to, do you know what I mean? I feel like part of me feels like if I were to continue that, let's say I go, because I mean, this is with the like presumption, you know me, I'm a fucking negative Nancy. I know it's terrible to say, but I always expect the worst only for the fact that then, if the worst happens, it won't affect me in any way, like it won't negatively affect me, and more often than not, it won't be the worst thing that happens, so I'm then just delightfully surprised. But I just feel like if things don't change or haven't changed, of course things have changed, I think I just have a fear that old life that I had left behind is going to be like a shadow on this current life that I've been living for the past few months, particularly the past like 2.5 months. And that when I, or him, the homeless person who made all those videos, goes back, the shadow, I was about to say the me, because as I say, I suppose that this is indicative that I have adjusted. Like I'm adjusting, as I said I have earlier, like more so than I originally was. That shadow will over-encumber or overshadow everything that homeless person did, and I don't want to destroy his precious work by the chains of my old life. Like, I mean, ideally I'd want them to work together and move on to bigger and better things. This is what I mean. Do you see the division in my own body? Because none of it's, I mean, it's all me, but none of it's me. Just, for anybody who does see this, again, past, present, future, I understand that I've talked at great length about a great many things. I genuinely do appreciate anybody who sees these things, who gives me the time of day. Like, I understand. I understand. Like, you see a fucking homeless guy in a tent talking about police corruption or something. There's no production quality on his videos. Like, you just think, right, next. Give me something that's, I don't know, fucking whoever them vloggers are, where every title is just like, oh, I fucking ate McDonald's for 5 days straight and it's 50 million views. It's just like, wow, fuck me. You got somebody, again, and not to say anything highly of myself, but then again, actually, no, it wouldn't even be relevant. I was going to say, you've got somebody like saying, oh, I'm exposing police corruption like as best I can, but it's not fair for me to compare that, only for the fact that A, they will be established channels, and B, the algorithm, and C, it's a whole mess of things. Again, I'm not being salty over the difference there. I'm just saying that I understand my patch, my field, this. I understand the desert that I have to dance in, and I very much like this intimate experience that I've had with the people who have viewed my content and have stuck with me through this, like both online and just in person. I don't ever know what would become of this channel, like in the future. Again, I don't even know whether I would feel comfortable touching this channel once I'm back at the house, because it legitimately, even if it only ever stays as like a completely under the radar channel that like relatively nobody ever ends up seeing, it's going to be so precious to me, especially if I don't feel like I can not continue the legacy, not if I can continue what that person did, because of course, again, it is me. But I'm just going to the bathroom again. Let me have a think about what I want to say here. I think it is, and it's a good way to put it, is the second that the camera is paused and I walk away, my brain immediately starts kicking in again, and it just gives me this answer immediately. It's, as I said in my loving with schizotypal video, the people that I've been in love with, I've felt the emotions for, mean too much for me to ever disrespect them to such a degree where it would be disrespecting myself and the feelings I have felt and my own history as a human being. Like, I can't do that. And considering what's happened to me the past 2 months, specifically just in the tent, obviously, if you want to include the hotel, the past 5.5 months, like, it means too much to me, and it's going to mean too much to me. Like, I know that already. That it would be like, part of me at least feels that it would be like disrespecting somebody that I love if I were to try and continue his work, which is my work. But if I try and continue his work without being able to do it justice, I would rather leave work that I have done in a situation in my life where I was the person that I needed to be. I would rather leave that work perfect and undefiled for what it was, for what it needed to be, and for the time that it needed to be done. I would rather leave it than potentially destroy it or mess it up with any future me or any future predicament or any future work with my own hands. Like, part of me just feels like they need to be separate to keep it sacred. Because I could not spoil it, but I need a fucking cigarette, actually. I'll come back and I'll make this here and I'll keep doing the video thing, yeah. Genuinely don't know how to do that light in a way that doesn't make me look weird. Yeah, I think I was going to say, just basically, if you see a channel that's pretty much doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, except in a house, and it's called Revelation 102, chances are I have decided to keep the Revelation 101 thing sacred. I don't want to sully it with whatever my future position in life might be. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's just in my head, but I suppose everything's just coming out. I think about my ex-boyfriend as well. I know, I'm like a fucking broken record. Like, he says sometimes like he hates me, claims he doesn't want to talk to me or anything like that, but he watches my YouTube videos, and this is what I mean, he's conflicted. I think he hates the fact that he does still like find me attractive or think about me. And as I say, I know it's ridiculous to go on about him a lot, but as you know from the fucking schizo type of videos, I'm just not the average human being, and neither is he. And as I say, like, well, it just feels like he dropped part of his soul when he decided that he didn't want to. Well, I was just going to say when he dropped me. It's the easiest way to put it. And I only say something like that, which is just because, as I said, like, I prayed for him, like, to come into my life. And when I first saw him, just his picture, it was everything that I described I want him to look like. His personality, his hobbies, but everything that I'd said I wanted. And the first time I even saw his picture, let alone saw him face to face, like my soul recognized him. Like I knew exactly who he was. Like we'd been together in like 1,000 lifetimes for 1,000 years before. As I said earlier, that string of eternity, like mine is tethered to him. And yeah, it's just, I know he's not so, I don't know what the word would necessarily be. It doesn't matter anyway, I don't want to make this video about him. This is me expressing myself. But as you know from those loving with schizo type of videos, I do consider like the people that I've been in love with, the people that I've been able to feel emotion toward as milestones in my life, as the pinpoints in my life of where significant things happened. I was alone, then there was James, then obviously I was alone again, but I don't consider that like a thing. It was just James, and then Joey, and then Alec, and then Liam, and now the 10th, being homeless. So you do have to forgive me if sometimes I seem like I'm a bit overindulgent in certain parts of my life. I suppose it's because I don't have that many indulgences for what I consider in my life. Like, so few things are sacred to me. So few things I consider as the things that establish and make up who I am as a human being. And again, the fact that I consider, as I say, notice, it's not me saying being homeless, it's me saying the tent. Notice that I consider the tent as if it was like, I'm not going to say an ex-boyfriend, but as if it was like someone that I was in love with. Like, that's how much this period in my life has meant to me. Fuck that I was homeless. Fuck the police corruption, though that is a mission and a half. It is this, it is being with God, being with nature, being with the world, being with myself, finally, like alone. Somebody walks along all of a sudden. Hey, you alright, motherfucker? There's nobody there, by the way. I know it's dark, you can't fucking see a thing. I think I'm at that point mentally where it was in my coming to terms with being homeless video, where it's just, I just want to keep this rolling, the camera, the video, because yeah, I suppose my body is locked, it's intertwined in that trifecta of my brain trying to have its say, my body trying to override what my brain wants to say to protect my brain, and my soul just fucking banging on the reverse side of my eyes, just wanting to be seen or expressed or heard. And caught in the middle of them is just this poor body of flesh. This, I was going to say, like, so confused and everything. I'm not confused. I'm just here for the time that I'm here. And whatever these things are inside me that are all like, I was going to say combating or fighting against each other for not recognition, but to be heard or to be expressed. I mean, that isn't the case. As I say, this body is still like the fucking, that child that I talked about who was like looking at the other homeless person. Oh, I think I should have clarified this when I was saying in that video where like I pulled the zip ties, whatever the fuck it is on my jacket, to like cover my face up and everything so I could only see. Like the rest of my face was covered. That is a like protection thing. Like cocooning myself, enveloping myself in something, even if it's just a layer of clothing, to feel like I'm in some form of bubble and I'm separated from the outside world. Like that was absolutely what that was as a child. Like, I can't believe I didn't say that on the day I made the video. tomorrow, my final day, my final full day in the tent. I'm gonna do the things I haven't done. Like, as I say, I'll edit that the video for Friday tonight. I just need to call that friend as well. It is ironic that, again, like 2 days before my homeless situation ends, the old life that I left, the friendship group that I left before the whole COVID thing struck, like, comes back for me. Particularly because the reason as I said in the loving with schizoid and schizotypal personality disorder video, was because that friendship group collectively just became such a burden, such a weight on me, that I threw my hands up to God and just said, like, God, I don't want to, nor can I deal with them anymore. You deal with them. Didn't condemn them, just said, my Lord, you deal with them. I don't want to anymore. I didn't know how to change the situation or make it any different. And now it's coming back for me, but this time, like, I didn't even say to him when I spoke to him on the phone yesterday, I didn't even say to him, like, mate, I asked him how he's been doing. He asked me how I've been doing, but I kind of, like, just imposed that he answer the question first. Not that I said, oh, you answer it first, but I just did in my usual way, where he's like, so how are you? And then before he finishes, I'm like, so how have you been? Like, blah, blah, blah. And he just, like, told me his story, like, and he probably just thinks, like, for the past few months, it's just, not much, playing a bit of PlayStation, browsing shit online. It's like, I'll speak to, just like, so I've actually been homeless for like 5 or 6 months. I've been chasing up police corruption. I have a member of parliament, their office, working with me against this police abuse of power. What were you saying about your kitchen not being finished being renovated yet? Like, it's, I do hope, as I say, I would like to say, I hope I've learned a lot of things from this experience. But it's very much like me being in high school. It's not necessarily a learning experience like you'll learn your multiplication times tables. It's a mental, emotional learning experience. Like, as I say, this has tested me. I mean, yes and no. Because, as I say, coming out to nature, this was a relief for me, in a sense, from being in that hotel, from being surrounded by people all the time. This was a relief, coming to live in nature, even though it's not safe. It's cold, it's not nice. I didn't have access to electricity, I didn't have access to fucking water. I mean, obviously I bought water and what have you, but you know what I'm saying. But again, there is, on that QA message board, there used to be like a meme, a saying that would go around. It was a Pepe the Frog. I believe he was like crying, and he was saying, like, Lord, why do you always give me the hardest battles? And then there's like a picture of Jesus underneath, and he says, because you're one of my strongest warriors. And yeah, I'm not gonna fucking sing my own praises here, but I would just say, imagine yourself in this situation. Imagine what you would do. As much as you might think, like, oh, I could handle it really well, like, oh, I would be fine, I would make it work for me. Like, consider where I am right now, like, just sat in the middle of the wilderness. Like, I'm cold. I don't have like a bed or 4 walls to lay my head underneath. I have the stars on a bit of material I call a tent. I'm so thankful for this. Like, in a strange way, this has been something that I have wanted my entire life. I have wanted to be here, like, and I've been working toward being here in a certain sense, and that I did want my own space and to be alone, and like I said, during COVID, to have the world to myself. And this, in relation to the world, this small patch of land has been my own. As I say, it's going to be weird going back to civilization and society. I make it sound like I've been like on the top of a mountain for months. But I have, you know what, there used to be this sign on the shop that I'd always go to near me. During the COVID thing, I believe it was. I think it was advertising yogurt, to be honest. But the tagline on it always caught my attention. It was always mountains of strength. Mountains of strength. Isn't like you have mountains of strength. And there's just always something that resonated with me with that sentence, with that line. And I know one day I saw it and like it'd been like ripped a little bit, I assume by wind or something. And one day I saw a massive chunk of that sign. I believe it was actually the part that said strength, like mountains of strength, and the strength part was it could have been the mountains part, whatever it was. It was like it full on ripped off the thing. It was on the floor, and something inside me just said, pick that up and keep it, pick that up and keep it. And I didn't, because I didn't want to be seen as a weirdo who was picking up, you know, bits of scrap advertisement billboards. And but yeah, that voice inside that was saying keep it, take it and keep it, pick it up and keep it, was right, because the next time I walked past, that entire billboard had been removed and replaced with something else. And that scrap was no longer on the floor for me to pick up. That talisman of sentiment was no longer there. Always there in my mind, of course. I know I have pictures of it. But if you can do this, if you can sit here and open your ears to the universe, to God, I will say to God, but to the universe, you'd be surprised what's said back to you, provided you have the ear to hear, to listen, to see. There's so much in this world that's just slips by the average human being, including people, like I said, homeless people sleeping in fucking alcoves, and people just walk right past them. But for while we're here, while you're here, I'm saying in my head here, my Lord, what do I say? What do I say? You don't want to let this life slip you by. You don't want to let people slip away. One day we will all be united somewhere much greater than this. And I can't wait to see you all there. God bless. Bye.